Little Marco, little Marco.
What you are about to see is yet another painful, embarrassing moment in Republican politics. And I kind of love it.
That you are possibly under consideration to be Donald Trump's running mate. I don't put a lot of stock in this reporting right now, or we're early. But you said it would be an honor to be offered a spot on his ticket. Really?
Yeah, I think anyone who's offered the opportunity to serve this country as vice president should be honored.
Marco Rubio belongs to a string of Republican incels who call Trump names.
We are not going to turn over the conservative movement to a con artist who is telling people one thing but has spent 40 years sticking it to working Americans and now claims to be their champion.
But when push came to shove, well, they got pushed and they got shoved.
You know that in Florida, they hate little Marco Rubio so much.
Marco is MAGA, little boys who talk tough, but when face to face with the bully, they make Ted Cruz look like The Rock.
The man is utterly amoral.
Donald Trump will be overwhelmingly reelected as president of the United States.
Rubio's that guy at closing time, desperately looking for someone who'll take him home and make him feel like a man. But that ship has so sailed.
What happened to the last guy? A mob stormed the Capitol, literally calling to hang Mike Pence.
Listen,
and Trump defended those chants of hanging Mike Pence.
I will tell you this, that when Donald Trump was president of the United States, this country was safer, it was more prosperous. We had relations, for example, in a part of the world that I care about called the Western Hemisphere that were very strong. We had a lot of good things done there. I think the country and the world was a better place when he was president.
Jesus Christ, Marco, is there any manhood DNA left in you? Trump turned on Pence like a feral pig, and you still kiss his ass? For the record, for the millionth time, Trump's economy was never as strong as Clinton's, Obama's, or Biden's. Write this down, you pouty little prick. Trump never had a GDP over 3%. Biden's last quarter was 5.5% growth.
Relations, for example, in a part of the world that I care about called the Western Hemisphere.
Western Hemisphere? You really just said that after Trump promised he'd let Putin take Europe if they didn't pay up?
One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
The interview gets worse for little Marco. He's so desperate you could say to him, Trump wants to destroy your world and eat your mother's heart. What do you say to that? And Rubio would whisper, well, Mommy did make me eat my vegetables.
Well, I want to play you something that President Trump said this week about Democrats and Israel. Take a listen.
Any Jewish person that votes for Democrats hates their religion, they hate everything about Israel, and they should be ashamed of themselves because Israel will be destroyed.
I assume you don't agree with that.
Well, I think that there's an argument, there's a difference between being, pro-Israel and there are people, being...
He can't even answer that question. Trump is certifiable, telling Jews who they must vote for, and the idea that Trump and MAGA actually support Jews, I guess I need to remind you of the actual MAGA position.
Jews will not replace us!
Marco Rubio is an embarrassment, in every way a public figure can be. He was lambasted in the debates with Trump, unable to articulate a point without looking like an 11-year-old on his first day in a new school. And you can see his internal collapse, and it's painful and wonderful, wonderfully painful.
When they put Marco on to refute President Obama's speech, do you remember that catastrophe? And he's like this, and we will, I need water, help me, I need water, help. And this is on live television. This total joke artist. It's Rubio. That's what it. Unbelievable.
This was you in 2016.
What we are dealing with here, my friends, is a con artist. He is a con artist. First of all, he runs on this idea that he is fighting for the little guy. But he has spent his entire career sticking it to the little guy. You all have friends that are thinking about voting for Donald Trump. Friends, do not let friends vote for con artists.
Watching little Marco audition for Trump's approval by trashing Biden is comical and sad.
Joe Biden, who's been a disaster economically. Look at the world. Every single day we wake to a new crisis, to a new conflict. Everything has gone on fire since the time Joe Biden took over. Afghanistan's gone down. Ukraine has been invaded. Now the Philippines and the Chinese are on the verge of something bad happening every single day, not to mention the threats to Taiwan. We have this blow up in Haiti going on.
All right, let's cover these in order. Marco, if Biden is to blame for Haiti, then is it okay to blame Trump for the China virus? The million Americans who died while he foobarred the response?
I wanted to always play it down.
The economy is great, Marco. Inflation, which occurred because of the pandemic, down. And since you mentioned Ukraine, let's remind you that your party, since 2016, when the Republicans withdrew their support for Ukraine, abandoned a democratic government under siege because your fat master doesn't want to offend Putin and you're too weak to say it out loud.
Okay, but let me ask you right now, where we are right now. Donald Trump is making the case, and he's going to do it before the Supreme Court, that the President of the United States should have absolute immunity, should effectively be above the law for virtually anything that a president does while in office. You don't agree with that, do you?
Well, I don't think that, well, on the case of immunity, there's two separate issues here. One is, can the president do anything? Can he go out and basically, kill one of the members of his staff overnight inside the White House? Obviously, that's an absurd outcome, and that's a common crime.
Oh, God, but Trump says he can shoot people
Middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody.
and his lawyer argued before court that Trump could legally have a rival assassinated.
Ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. That's an official act in order to SEAL Team 6.
You're so pathetic, and this might be the most painful thing I've ever witnessed.
We're going to prosecute you. We're going to come after you. We're going to charge you for this crime.
Yeah,
We're
but
going to
he's
charge you
saying
for that
absolute.
crime.
He's saying absolute immunity.
We'll see. Okay. This goes before the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
There's going to be oral
arguments. As a guy that's supposed to run for president.
He's not representing himself at the Supreme Court. Lawyers will make that argument. But we're living in a country now where basically, if you're president, now you have to think to yourself, I got to be careful what I do as president.
That's right, you placating idiot. You have to watch what you do and what you say. When you lose an election that 60 different courts and hundreds of leaders in your own party said you lost, you shut the f*** up about it. Instead, your guy tells thousands of people to attack the Capitol and send 100 police to the hospital because your guy, the guy whose ass you worship, is a narcissistic sociopath.
I want to be a dictator.
But you look at these prosecutions that are coming about. You've got this lady, clear partisan in New York, who's basically prosecuting the president over loans.
It's not about loans, you sad little lapdog. Trump lied to get lower rates, to make money illegally. It's fraud, and he benefited by tens of millions of dollars. It's a fucking crime. And New York State has a long history with Donnie Sniffles. He's ripped off hundreds of people and was even fined by the Justice Department under Reagan for discriminatory housing practices. The 2024 Republicans are either ignorant and lazy or willfully compliant. And in the case of Marco Rubio, all of the above.
You and Senator Ted Cruz both say you'll release your returns in the coming days. Donald Trump said he can't because he's being audited. He revealed he'd been audited actually for the last several years. Is that a sufficient reason not to release at least part of his tax records?
Well, and first of all, we'll release ours, and not only will we release ours, but we do a financial disclosure with the Senate every year, so there's really no difference between those financial disclosures and the taxes.
Back in 2016, when asked about Trump's taxes, Marco made some strong points about Trump, which are playing out in the courts today. Fat Donnie's a fraud in every way you can be. So ask yourself this question. When a person asks you for permission to lead the country through these, without question, very difficult times, do you want this pair? A sociopath convicted of rape, financial crimes where juries, not prosecutors, leveled the charges, a whining loser who could not even admit defeat, who attempted a coup by sending thousands of supporters into the Capitol to kill the vice president and stop the certification, a man who stole top secret government documents and tried to destroy them when confronted by the FBI, and a man who says if he's elected, doesn't need the Constitution and will enact revenge on the media and political rivals.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country.
And right next to him, his little eunuch cuckold licking daddy's boots daily. Is that what you want?
Grab him by the pussy.
Trump said that 15 years ago, and nothing's changed, except that he's still grabbing. So maybe this time, he'll grab you, Marco.
You can't let that happen to me. Who's with me? Am I wrong?
Damn right.
Yes. Tick-tock, mother. This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
Follow, like, and hit notifications as Really American keeps you up to date on the latest Republican cult lie in this very important year. For Really American, I'm Chip Franklin.